Good evening. As you hear from that music, it is SEC After Dark on the Y'all's Conference Network. What's up, gentlemen? Steve Willis, Jake Thomas, and Jeb Beecham joining me on this fine evening. Steve, looks like you're drinking a silver bullet. What's up, guys?
Man,
not much.
Yep. Good
Man of
good
many
to be here.
words.
What are y'all drinking?
Agua.
Water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Having some beer tonight.
Hey,
Might
did
switch
you
to liquor.
Did you see that Antonio Brown opted out of his game?
I did.
It's one way to put it.
Yeah. He
opted out the whole season, didn't he?
he did the rage quit.
Yeah, it was a very Madden move. It was very mad. And then he runs off the field. He's dancing, going off the field, giving deuces to everybody as he leaves, and tells people his ankle was messed up and he couldn't play.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Jumping around, yeah.
Jumping around, doing jumping jacks, pitching a fit on the sidelines, all that good stuff. The chat is live and well, so we like to welcome our chatters, our associate producers, as we say. But yeah, man, we got an action-packed show, as you see. Bet Online, presented by Bet Online.
Nick Saban Jr.
Oh, hey,
that gives me hope.
Hey, Nick Saban Jr., can you toss us each a Mercedes while you're at it?
Yeah, seriously.
Give us an NIL deal.
No, that'd be great. If you want to toss us a Mercedes or something else, feel free to DM me. If you want to toss us a few bucks, DM us. We'll give you our Venmo gladly at Corey-Burton-1 on Venmo if you want to donate to the cause. And I'm sure these guys will give you their Venmos too, but I'm just going to give you mine. So maybe you'll donate. If you donate a large enough sum, I will divvy it up. I'll give them each $1.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm generous, man.
If we could find Corey. Although it would be hard. It's like there's snow all over the ground up there. And it's getting ready to snow again.
Yeah.
Not yet. The snow is gone from the last round.
Okay.
At least here in Nashville it is.
Wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. We're going to get about 4 inches.
It's supposed to be 75 tomorrow, so I feel your pain.
There you go.
I'll ask my father.
Attaboy, Nicky. Nicky Jr. Love it. So we got an action-packed show, like I said, SEC After Dark, Y'all's Conference Network. We're coming at you from multiple angles, and we thank you for joining us. Yep, there you go. So there's Steve doing I don't know if he's doing a 1980s dance or telling you that we're coming at you from all angles, or maybe it's both. I don't know.
I could have been doing sprockets. Who knows?
He was dancing like the music that you heard. Like he hears different music. Like he right now he's listening to Devo Whip It.
It's actually ABBA Greatest Hits, but whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Hey, no judgment here. So bowl wrap, right? That's our first item on the agenda. We're going to wrap up these bowl games, the ones that happened. I'd like to focus on the ones that happened after we since talked to you. Jeb, I'll start with you because chronologically, and then painfully, yes. So a few things that stood out to me from this bowl before I toss it to you, Jeb. If Tennessee could tackle in the fourth quarter, maybe that whole referee thing wouldn't have happened. But nonetheless, you leave it in the hands of the refs, you're screwed. Can't blame it on the refs, but you leave it in the hands of them. It ain't going to end well for you. That being said, I think he got screwed. Jeb, what do you think?
We got screwed long before that last play. Like you said, it's not that we weren't trying to play defense. It's that if you breathe on the wide receivers, you got a pass interference call. I think they called like 7 of them in the game. I know one guy got 2 in a row, just marching the other team down the field. And he maybe one of them you could argue. The other one you couldn't even argue. It's just terrible play call or a terrible referee all the way down.
Yeah.
And
I think they got
the
bonuses
last play,
for that.
I mean, well, yeah. That overtime call was just, nobody could understand it. I mean, if it was something that you could at least argue, I'd understand. But there's no way to argue. But I don't know. A lot of people I've seen Feinbaum and some of the others saying Tennessee should be awarded a win, and that's not true because if they'd scored who knows what Purdue would have done after that? They would have tried to score. They weren't going for a touchdown on their last overtime possession. So there's no way you could say anything other than it's just a bad ending.
It is what it is. It's a bad beat,
Yeah, but it doesn't sour me on Tennessee at all. Josh Heupel, the job he's done this season has been amazing. I'm very excited. Hendon Hooker, Cedric Tillman, all these players are coming back for their senior season or super senior.
Yeah, I mean, Cedric Tillman and Velus Jones, man, watching those two guys is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
at the wide receiver spot. I mean, those guys are outstanding, and they're going to be a problem for just about everybody in the conference.
It's hard to believe that Cedric Tillman was a 2-star.
Yeah.
He's freaking Michael Crabtree out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This goes to tell you, Steve, that what we used to do was an inexact science.
Well, and he wasn't great his first couple years at school. It just this last half of this season, he's just blown up. Been amazing. I don't know what happened, what triggered for him, but
he had a quarterback.
Yeah, that could be it.
He had a competent quarterback and a coach that knew what offense was.
Well, and also
not Jim Chaney.
I say this all the time. There are probably 50 players every recruiting class that is just transferable to any system. Now, Alabama and Georgia gets those guys all the years. What makes a 3-star player is they only fit in one type system, and they don't fit in another. And somebody like Cedric Tillman is probably struggling in that Jeremy Pruitt system they lined up, but he's absolutely thriving in Josh Heupel's and the way they handle the wide receivers in that system. So it's not that he's a bad player. He lucked into the perfect system for him, and that is absolutely a thing.
Nobody that signs in an SEC school is a bad player.
No.
You have to be pretty damn good to play, even at Vanderbilt. Like, those guys are good. It's just what those coaches do with them when they get there. How do they fit them into their scheme? You have one train of thought of, hey, I've got this really good guy that's good at XYZ. Oh, let's feature XYZ in our system for him. Versus, this is my system. You must fit my system. If you don't, get out of here. And that's what gets people in trouble.
Well,
so.
I mean, you look at it overall, Alabama is not what Alabama normally is. I mean, Bryce Young is super special and all that, but the rest of the players kind of struggle. And they look kind of thin at wide receiver, and Billingsley hasn't shown up repeatedly. And that's just because what Sark asked them to do was a little bit different than what Bill O'Brien's asking them to do.
Yeah.
And they have to recruit a little bit to match that up. And that is at that high of a level of talent to where they get these 5-stars and top 50 players every year. That adjustment is tough for them. Can you imagine what it would be like for somebody like LSU or even Ole Miss, since every coach is going and taking other jobs? So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be, and I'm curious to see what Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to do at Ole Miss. Speaking of that, we'll get to that probably more so after we wrap up this national championship. We'll probably get more into like what each team's going to look like, kind of heading into spring practice, but. Jake, just be glad you didn't get a mayo bath like Shane Beamer.
Whew.
That game was fun, though, man. Like,
it was
South
fun.
Carolina looked good. Talk about harassing Sam Howell, man. Holy cow!
I mean, yeah, but is South Carolina that good? Is North Carolina just that bad? I mean, they were horrible.
North Carolina's bad on defense.
But North Carolina's terrible on defense.
South Carolina
put 10 North Carolina to you.
They went the Lynn Bowden route and put a receiver at quarterback and executed better on offense with the wide receiver quarterback. So, but they get Spencer Rattler next year, which that's a whole other thing. But
and this is absolutely hilarious to think about. And I was talking to Jake about it before, but the two teams that Caleb Williams is rumored to is Georgia and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So that means Spencer Rattler potentially coming to Georgia. It could be a Spencer Rattler versus Caleb Williams game in the SEC that doesn't include Oklahoma.
That would be so sick.
Yeah.
That would be.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
You know what would be funny is if Caleb Williams went to South Carolina just to mess with Spencer Rattler.
That would be fun.
That would be awesome.
That would be.
Oh, my goodness.
But
I don't know if I'd have enough respect for South Carolina, and they had the ball coach.
old ball coach, man. Yeah, that would be the ultimate move. I'm like, okay, I'm officially rooting for Shane Beamer now. That would be the thing. But they're South Carolina, so I can't root for them.
And I still want to mention that I said South Carolina win 7 games this year.
Yeah, that's
They did.
Nostradamus of the end zone.
Hail
No.
be the to Jake.
No, I mean I just took a wild guess and it come through.
There you go.
But is it worth winning a bowl game if you're going to get dunked in mayonnaise?
Ooh.
That's a tough
Well, he had a concussion. He had a concussion and got done by mayonnaise. So they hit him in the back of the head with that cooler when they dumped it on him.
I knew a couple of girls in the Navy that would be a problem for.
Uh-oh.
All righty then.
Okay. Well, there's still a sponsor out there left for us, Steve. You gotta reach out,
Yeah.
preferably with your right hand.
Oh. Back to the show.
Back to the show. That's your. Yeah, never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
Gosh.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all welcome, by the way, for that.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Yes. Okay. Moving on. Other bowl
Please.
games: Kentucky, Iowa, Arkansas. I don't even know who the hell they played. To be honest with you,
Penn State.
Penn State.
That's
there you
right.
go. Yeah, that's right. They're relevant. So, two big wins for those programs. I think that's what they needed. Kentucky taking care of the football did exactly what they needed to do. Feed Rondell Robinson, take care of the football, and let the rest be the rest. And that's kind of how that one shook out. Arkansas just exposed James Franklin further as a fraud, especially defensively. They couldn't handle KJ Jefferson. That was a good one to watch. And then you look at some of the other games. The one last night, LSU. I think Helen Keller saw that one coming. Like that was
LSU had 35 scholarship players. They did what Texas A&M should have done. I think Texas A&M should never be allowed to claim the 12th man ever again.
Right.
Because in what they celebrate, they should have done what LSU did. Take the L, go through, get it done, but they didn't have a quarterback. They got a little bit nervous, and you have $100 million coach, and LSU's just like, okay, let's do it. Because those guys that are playing, those 35 scholarship players, deserve the experience.
Absolutely.
They deserve it. They're not going to the NFL. This is as good as it gets for them.
And a lot of those guys probably don't ever play.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, LSU had more guts than anything, so I'm not making fun of them. But it's not surprising. Everyone's like pounding their chest, like, "Yeah, LSU sucks. Yeah, they lost to Kansas State." No,
Kansas State gave up 21 points to essentially a junior college team.
Essentially, LSU scout team.
Yeah,
essentially what that was. That was LSU scout team. So, Kansas State, I love you. Don't take this the wrong way, but quit beating your chest. Okay, so New Year's Six Bowl, Ole Miss. That was a tough one, Steve, because I think the way they played him in the first half, I think you had a chance with that if Matt Corral doesn't go down.
Yeah. I think if they have Matt Corral, they end up winning the game. Like, if you look at it, with a slightly different result of what happened, they were close to 16-0 at the start of the fourth quarter with Luke Altmaier. So it's definitely a game that with Matt Corral, they should have had a chance to win. I'm just excited about Luke. He kind of proved himself to be a gamer, and in the third quarter, he looked good, man. He looked actually good.
He was hanging in there, making some good throws. Seemed like he had pretty good command of the offense, and Baylor. People understate Baylor as far as how good they are defensively. They may not have the roster loaded from top to bottom, but those starting 11 guys plus a few of their rotational guys are really good defensively. They fly around. 22, holy cow. That dude can hit.
Dave Aranda is Nick Saban at Michigan State. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get to be Nick Saban at Alabama, but right now he is Nick Saban at Michigan State. That is a well-coached football team, and they don't make mistakes.
And they force you to make a ton. So, I mean, I really enjoyed watching that game. Like, Baylor as an institution, knowing what they went through with Art Briles and that whole scandal stuff makes me not respect them as a university. But seeing what Dave Aranda's been able to do with that football program is outstanding. Outstanding. So,
is Luke Altmaier a true freshman?
True freshman.
Did he burn his red shirt doing that?
Yes, he did. That was his fifth game of the season. So he blew his red shirt for that. But I don't think he was planning on staying there 5 years regardless. I think he's planning on going to the league after after 3.
I was going to say, like, a little premature on that, but
yeah, but I'm talking about his thinking, because they didn't hesitate to put him in. They could have put Kincaid Dent in at quarterback, and he was an upperclassman, and all was going to be good, and you preserve that red shirt. They didn't even hesitate a little bit. 7 went in there.
Yeah, they didn't care because they know they just need to take advantage of it and win this thing now. And because you never know. I mean, they could transfer at the drop of a hat for any reason whatsoever. Like, Sark could call him tomorrow and say, hey, we've got Stubbs Barbecue. They're going to offer you $1.7 million to represent them. Here you go.
Yeah, there's a mercenary class of college football that is being developed right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just completely all about the money, doesn't care about anything else. Yeah, it's interesting to see. I did pretty much a whole show about it today on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
Yeah, college football is going to be just a slightly different version of the NFL at this point. It's going to be like the minor leagues for the NFL because it's going to be the same mentality before too long.
Yeah, and props to Greg Sankey because this expanded playoff is going through eventually. It's going to be 12 teams eventually. It may not be this year. It may be when the contract goes up and when all these movements happen. But getting Oklahoma and Texas and basically having what amounts to an NFL junior setup with NIL and everything else going on, I mean, it's just going to expand the gap more and more. And I think that's the reason everybody is so pissed off is just because the SEC is just going to print money. You already have Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Kentucky being just like realistically good teams from time to time. That's already happening. And this is just going to exacerbate it. And you have like Michigan and Ohio State from the Big Ten. That's really about it. You have maybe a team in the Pac-12. That's going to probably be Sherman, extra soft USC. And the Big 12, the Big 12 is kind of forming itself in the old, kind of forming itself in the SEC's image. If you look at these teams in the Big 12 right now, there's a lot of SEC-looking teams in there. And they gave Texas and Oklahoma a lot of trouble playing SEC football.
I mean, Kansas State's kind of built like that. They're a big physical team. Baylor is looking to build like that. Chris Kleiman comes from, obviously North Dakota State and their whole tradition and their whole system and the way they do things. They're like the SEC on the FCS level. They're Alabama on the FCS level. Yeah. I mean, the Missouri Valley Conference is like their version of the SEC. That's the best conference in FCS. But then you have, Sark at Texas. Now you have Brent Venables at Oklahoma, who he's a rough and tumble guy. Like he's a no-nonsense physical. They're going to hit you in the mouth type deal. I mean, he had Clemson playing like a SEC program. Then you have obviously Dave Aranda. Did I say that one? Then you have that influence. Lance Leopold is kind of that mentality at Kansas, even though they're just Kansas reference in this conversation. I did not have $5 on that. Yeah, you won. And then I'm just going team by team at this point. Iowa State, they're built like that, although they don't have the depth and they kind of just
also, with DJ Durkin going to Texas A&M, one of the first calls I make if I'm Lane Kiffin is to John Haycock at Iowa State.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes. And I'm glad DJ Durkin is going to that cesspool because he was good. But
by the way, Corey, what was that barbecue joint that you referenced that might give?
Stubbs.
Yeah,
Stubbs barbecue.
You know,
Great brisket.
if they want to sponsor this show, I'll eat $1.7 million worth of barbecue while we're sitting here talking.
Oh yeah, you could send me all the brisket and sauce you want. And I will plaster it up on my wall. It'll be all over my shirt.
There you go.
It'll be all over my face. I'll take down some ribs.
I do not like brisket, and I hate that word.
Brisket.
That's my not cuss word thing where you just kind of cringe every time you hear it. I do not like brisket. I don't know why. It goes back to when honestly when Judge Beans opened up in Brentwood.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, and it goes back to that. And you started hearing brisket all the time in the office. We're over having lunch for brisket, and it's like, you just say you're going to have barbecue. It doesn't matter. And I'm not a big Texas barbecue fan to begin with. I'm more of a Memphis barbecue person.
You like dry rub ribs.
And I like the sauce and general pulled pork of Memphis. I'm not a Carolina fan, and that white sauce that they do in Alabama, they should arrest people for that.
Dang, man.
I like the ketchup based sauces down that you see a lot in Georgia. Brunswick stew is my thing, man. I love me some Brunswick stew. There's a certain place that serves Carolina Gold wings. That's the only Carolina Gold sauce I'll eat. I don't really care for the vinegar-based sauces. Love brisket. Love cooking brisket on my Traeger smoker. So Traeger, heads up. And yep, there you go. Traeger and Stubbs barbecue sauce. Hey, we got 2 sponsorships right there. Let's just nail it down. But no, I'm a fan of all barbecue. Pulled pork, ribs, brisket.
Let me say I'm a fan of Florida barbecue. No, I'm not saying that Florida has a barbecue, but Florida has enough people from each region to where there's a pretty good barbecue facsimile of each thing down here.
Have you had some burn-ins?
Yes, I actually have. And yeah, it is pretty good. That's how I determined that Alabama white. Just keep that to yourself.
We will.
What's your favorite side?
Coleslaw.
Coleslaw. Okay.
Especially barbecue. Always coleslaw.
Coleslaw, baked beans for me.
The second would be potato salad.
And potato salad.
I'm a fan of the mac.
I like macaroni and cheese too.
Yeah, the mac. Green beans is always a good choice too. Love me some green beans.
It was on a tee. You could have said remember the mac and you let that go.
Return of the Mac.
Return of the Mac, yeah.
There we go.
Return of the Mac.
Oh, by the way, I saw a meme on Twitter the other day that said, remember everybody, girls might love Ryan Gosling, but remember 10 years ago when he was a complete liability at cornerback for Remember the Titans.
Oh, that's a good point.
I've seen that meme. I love that meme. He was a complete liability in coverage. He had to take himself out. So, speaking of liability and coverage,
I'll go to the papers. Oh, go ahead.
I'll take this to the papers. There goes the Hall of Fame.
It's hard to believe that little girl was the girl in Nashville.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah.
I mean,
this show is going all over the place, and it's mostly my fault. I apologize for that.
Okay. Hey, that's what we do, man.
I was going to say I'm the youngest one on this panel here, and it makes me feel old to see her on Nashville. Being all grown up.
She's like 5'2" and 5'3", and she has her she's married to like one of the Klitschko brothers, the boxing.
I think it's Vladimir, the younger one.
Yeah, and he's like 6'7". It's like
it's hilarious watching this.
Good grief!
You can like hold her in like the palm of his hand.
It's like looking at a baby eagle, And
baby eagle, huh? All right.
Yeah, we're off the rails.
Yeah, it is. This show lost all its
bags of sand. Okay, so let's get us back on the track. national semifinal, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. Jake, Cincinnati gave you everything you wanted, but it was still, not much they could do offensively. I think they kind of fell into the trap of we're too scared to put Desmond Ridder on the run because Will Anderson's going to hurt him, which is a legitimate fear that everyone has. But one of the things that stood out to me was it was just kind of like a business workman-like victory for Alabama. They just got in, got out, and got the W and moved on. And there wasn't much to do about anything for Alabama. And I think there's a false illusion that they struggled a little bit. I don't think they did. I just don't think they had to work as hard. But what do you think, man?
Brian Robinson carried us offensively. I mean,
Called it.
Yeah. I mean, them running the 3-3-5. I knew he was going to have holes as big as canyons to run through, and he did. I mean, he showed up, showed out. I mean, honestly, I think we did struggle a little bit passing. I mean, Bryce Young did not look his best at all, and the offensive line once again went to being a liability trying to pass protect. But other than that, I can't say anything really, really bad about the team because defensively they played great. I mean, we had this bend but don't break type defense, and I'm fine with that. I mean, as long as we're not giving up touchdown, we give up a touchdown here, then a field goal. Our offense is good enough to get touchdown. So, I can't say anything bad other than pass protection and Bryce not being his best. But, of course, when you're running for your life, you talked about it, Corey, about how Georgia needs to get after Bryce and make him look at the line instead of looking out to his receivers. And it felt like to me that's what he was doing because he was getting all this pressure. He would get the ball and just look right there instead of looking to see where his guys were at. So
I mean, those what impressed me about Cincinnati was that their defensive line was just so quick.
Yeah,
getting back there, like it was. I mean, that Alabama just couldn't handle the edge rushers' quickness off the ball. I mean, it was snap 1, 2, and the guy had already had him beaten, and Bryce snap 1, eyes go down, he bails. And they did a good job tackling and not letting him get loose. If you do that, that is a recipe for interfering with Bryce. So the passing game really wasn't what it should have been or could have been. But what really saved Alabama's hide was Brian Robinson. They did all that work rushing the passer. They had nothing for the run. Right. So that's where Georgia's going to have to fill in the gaps. They can't let Brian Robinson rush for 200 yards while they're getting pressure on Bryce Young. They have to find that balance, which is, Alabama makes it tough for you to find that balance. So, that's what's going to have to happen. But, hats off to Cincinnati. I mean, they showed that they belong, but they also showed that this was a battle of rosters, right? This was SEC versus a group of 5 team. Like the disparity in the rosters, mostly the depth and the talent up front, was what won this game for Alabama. Like, had these two teams been equal talent-wise or close to it, I don't know. We might be talking about Cincinnati, Georgia in the national championship and not the other way around because they're a well-coached team.
They are.
They showed me something. They impressed me with what they were able to show. And I know that sometimes it's difficult to say when you lose 27-6, but the way they lost and how they made Alabama just work for every little thing that they did was impressive to me.
Absolutely.
Alabama missed John Mechie. And
Yeah.
where they missed him was the fact that the defense could focus on Jamison Williams and the safety blanket and the security blanket whenever Bryce Young was in trouble was off the field. And for whatever reason, Billingsley is not showing up this year. The young
Where
receivers
was Slade Bolden?
Yeah, where was Slade Bolden? And I think that if I'm Georgia, we're going to move a little bit ahead to the Georgia game a little bit. I take Ringo, I put him on Jamison Williams, and I rush the heck out of the passer. I go all day, and I say, hey, beat us deep with somebody other than Jamison Williams. And that's probably my game plan for that one.
I'm harassing Jameson Williams as he comes off the line. Like I'm in his face. My hand is in his chest as much as possible, and I am not giving up a slant. I will PI that to death before I let him catch and run 60-something yards.
And whoever my best defensive back is traveling. We're not going to move. We're not going to do anything. You've got cat coverage the whole game on that guy.
Mm-hmm. Slade caught a TD. Brooks did too. Okay.
Right.
All right.
I mean, there's talent there to make up. We can't make up for Mechie's, ability, but there's guys who can step up and fill that role to some extent. They just got to step up and play.
Because he's so special, people forget that Bryce Young is essentially a freshman. Yeah. And because of that, you can fool him from time to time. You can't fool him much, but you can from time to time. And if you take somebody off the field like John Mechie, that's going to affect him until he can find the next John Mechie that he has a rapport with.
And somebody that can be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, and can do the dirty work that John Mechie does. And because that's what John Mechie does, is the dirty work. Jameson Williams gets all the headlines. John Mechie is the one that bails them out. I mean, that's
Mechie's
happened all year.
MVP of that offense. Like he's the thing that makes that thing. He's the reason why Bryce was a lot successful. I mean, Bryce is good in his own right. Don't get me wrong, but it was a lot of young to Mechie. It was a lot of that. So, but yeah, I was impressed with Alabama. We'll get to how they match up. But Georgia, again, I'm hoping with the domination of Michigan that they had, like not much went wrong in that game with Michigan. I think the only thing you could say is there was a pair of targeting penalties. One was one of the worst targeting calls I've ever seen. The other one was legit. The other one, I was like, yep.
What half?
First half was the legit one. Second half was.
So he's back for the game. Okay.
Yeah, Christopher Smith, the safety, he definitely launched into a blindside block on an interception return. That was textbook targeting. The second one was a reserve linebacker who put his face on the ball and knocked the ball out, and they called it. So I think that was a sympathy call. But, I mean, you saw Georgia's defense finally get their life back. Finally, like, they played pissed off. They played with a purpose. And Nakobe Dean, holy cow. The one play that really solidified it to me where I'm like, okay, Michigan has no shot, was when he went from the slot receiver went in motion. He was halfway between the hash and the number.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And he ran to the other number and tackled the bubble screen behind the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Mike linebacker. This is not a safety. This is not a corner, a nickel corner. This is a Mike linebacker making this play. So I knew Michigan had no shot after that. I'm like, there's just nothing they're going to be able to do. JJ McCarthy, I thought came in and did a few good things, but for the most part, they had nothing. They could not run the ball. De'Aaron Kendrick had two turnovers. They finally, like Israel and I have been hammering on our show, they finally had a game plan that fit Stetson Bennett. And it was the same game plan they used against Tennessee, the same game plan they used against Auburn, the one they used against Florida, the one where it's RPOs, get Stetson on the move, get the ball out of his hand quick, and give him options. And take a few deep shots where he's comfortable. They did all of that. They had those corners spinning like a top. They had safeties coming down. They had linebackers flowing aggressively. They had a trick play in there. I love the game plan. Finally, it was not even close to the game plan they employed against Alabama in the SEC championship. If they can have that game plan, they have a chance.
Yeah, I think that Kirby Smart, for as good as he is and as good as Georgia is this year, has a little bit of a problem whenever he sees that A and those numbers on the side of the helmets.
He absolutely does.
Yeah, and piss starts going down his leg. And for whatever reason, he's not the same coach that he is against other teams. It's amazing.
I don't understand it. It's like he's trying way too hard to impress Nick Saban by beating him, and just go out there and treat Nick Saban like he's Dan Mullen. If you want to beat him, you have to have the same mentality that you have against Gus Malzahn and Dan Mullen, who those are two coaches that Kirby doesn't care for. And he wants, like, if he could beat Dan Mullen 100-0, he will.
Well, not
like he's got to have that same he's got to have that same mentality.
It is tough, but if you're a Georgia fan, you've got to be happy with your warm-up game going into the championship, because Michigan, honestly, they've been playing out of their minds the last few weeks. Michigan's
I'm thrilled.
Great. And they just you could tell, like you said early on, they had no chance in that game. Georgia just completely shut them down. It was very impressive. Because I was really high on Michigan, and I have been for the last few weeks, but there was nothing.
Corey, you talked about Alabama just taking care of business. That's what Georgia did. I mean, let's just be honest. They went in and just took care of business. I mean, you know, I truly felt like it was going to come down to Alabama and Georgia again. I mean, it's like destined. I don't know why, but it's, you know.
The funny thing is, we called this matchup in week 2. Everybody was talking about the two greatest teams in college football this season. It's not even close as Alabama and Georgia. Now, who's number 1 and who's number 3 or whatever in this game? It might be reversed of what we thought it was. But it's
all semantics at this point.
Yeah, it's all semantics at this point. And honestly, it's another thing, but we just can't trust people to pick teams at this point. That's the reason we need to expand the playoff, is because I want to see Ohio State on there and play in the playoff in a game that matters.
I would have liked to see Oklahoma State, see what they
Oklahoma State, Baylor. Those teams playing to where a win
Utah
kind of close. Oh, Utah. Utah is a team that is a bad quarterback decision to start the season away from being in the playoff.
Yeah.
They just missed. They completely messed up that decision.
Would have wanted no part of. They would have given Georgia a way better game than Michigan. You know, they would. I really, really, really like that Utah team. That game, that Rose Bowl was incredible. I mean, defense optional, obviously, but that game got started. There was some defense there. Utah was kind of taking it to them, and then Ohio State kind of got settled in and figured some things out. And then Ohio State did a great job of turning that game into a shootout. So. Hats off to them, man. That was a great game.
People talk about expanding the playoff. It's like, oh, you're going to have 6 SEC teams in it.
Nope.
No, this year we'd have 3. 3 teams would have made the playoffs this year. And Utah would have made the playoffs. Pitt would have made the playoffs. Michigan State would have been in the dance. There'd probably been 3 teams from the Big Ten as well. And they would have all competed for the major prize. Now, we might be in the same exact position. But after it was over, we'd have no doubts of how we got there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you expand it. I think that's the right move. I mean, I think you get a lot more teams better because of recruiting. You know, you can recruit to the playoff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you probably are now in every conference probably 5 or 6 teams deep of, like, I don't want to say elite, but like close to elite level play, where recruits are going to scatter more. And I was listening to Jay Boy, and I was listening to Jake, and he was talking about recruiting and basically expanding the playoffs would turn this thing back regionally a little bit, like it was back in the old days.
I think he got that recruiting point from me, honestly. No, because there's 50 players every recruiting cycle that's super elite. These are the playoff players, and right now 20 of them are going to Alabama, 20 of them are going to Ohio State. 20 of them are going to Georgia. And I'm from Mississippi.
No one said you were a math major.
Yeah, I'm from Mississippi. But let's say 15 each is I'm going through. But if the playoff is 6 teams right now can legitimately recruit to the playoff, they can legitimately do it. If you expand it to 12, it's more like 20, 25 teams. And all of a sudden, those players that are just wrapped up in Alabama, Ohio State, and whatever, because of the playoff, now all of a sudden Alabama and Ohio State, they're still going to get theirs. They're still going to get 10, but they're not going to get 15. The other
maybe
thing
some
I
go to
think,
Ole Miss, maybe some go to Utah, maybe some go to Sharman University, maybe some go to Oklahoma, maybe some end up at Clemson, maybe a few end up in the Northeast up there at Penn State or Pitt or Rutgers or wherever.
And you end up with the playoff teams here, And the rest of them down here, well, now it's more like this. And the other thing we need to do, that we honestly need to do, is the initial scholarship limit needs to stay at 25. And that is power schools can choose to dominate high school recruiting or the transfer portal, but not both.
I agree with that. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, like the number, I feel like that number's trivial too. Like the 25 number, I feel like that's trivial because everyone's playing to the 85.
Everybody's playing to the 85, but because of the 32 number this year, and I think it's a this year only thing, these schools can sign their 25 and then they can sign 7 transfers. That gives a school like Alabama the ability to dominate the transfer portal and recruiting, and you're never going to have parity if you do that.
No, you're not. I think there should be some limits on this stuff. I mean, we're still in the wild west stage of this whole NIL and transfer portal stuff, and at the end of the day, you still got to have room. Like, there's going to be some people that were like, "Yeah, I'm going to hit the transfer portal. I'm going to go to the SEC," and then they end up at Idaho State because that's where they could fall.
Transfer portal was going to be the best thing for SES football in history.
I love it. You'll see some NFL guys play. You'll be watching the draft and you're like, really? Delaware State? This kid was top 50 coming out of high school. Delaware State? Yeah. Tate Martell is gonna wind up at Valdosta State.
Who's the kid that went to Jackson State?
Yeah.
Travis Hunter, yeah.
Hunter.
He'll move with Dion next year. So
yeah.
Or Coach Prime, I should say. Can't call him Dion.
But I mean, Joe Flacco went to Delaware, so I mean,
yeah,
from Pitt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
from Pitt. I think Jim Chaney ran him off, actually.
Did not know that, bro.
Gift that keeps on giving. Anyway, so Jake, this national title game rematch, Tyler Simmons was onside. I don't care what you say. And you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
But this game, again, I think it's going to, and I hope it lives up to the billing. Obviously, judging from what's behind me, I hope it lives up to the billing in the other way. And Jake, judging from what's behind you, I'm pretty sure I kind of know where you lean on this game.
Remember, I'm an Auburn fan, according to you.
War Eagle.
War Eagle. Yeah, there you go. How's Tank Bisbee? How's that Birmingham Bowl taste? No.
Yeah.
So
he's all about some Brian Harsin.
So what are you noticing? Love him. He's going to be on the show, right? Next week.
Yeah, we're going to work on that.
So speaking of your show, Tide Talk Sports.
Tide Talk Podcast.
Tide Talk Podcast.
Yeah.
Did I say sports?
Yeah.
Yes.
God almighty. This water, man, I'm getting hammered. What if this is not water? Anyway.
Don't look like it.
No. So, Tide Talk Podcast. What is the sentiment from like y'all's, the people that follow you guys and interact with you guys on a regular? What is the sentiment there with the rematch and having to play Georgia again? Is it split 50-50? People are kind of nervous. People are like, oh, we got Georgia. This is in the bag. Is it lean heavily any one side or the other?
I wouldn't say, there's people saying that we got in the bag because, Georgia is a stout opponent. We've already seen that. I do know I've been, Bama fans have started Twitter have started trend on Twitter. If y'all have seen, we've done the karate little, emoji beside all of our names, and a lot of people are superstitious about that. But it's just to have fun right now. But going to the game, it's a perfect matchup for both sides. We've already seen, Georgia. You've already seen us, and we are, unless some drastic game plans happen, it's going to be the same as that dogfight like it was in the SEC championship game. The one thing that of course stands out is of course QB play and head coaching, and Stephen's already mentioned the head coaching part of it. Something about Kirby, just when he sees Nick Saban in Alabama, just I don't know. I mean, he don't make the decision he needs to. I feel like he's got to play JT in this game if he wants a chance to win. Stetson's done great, but I mean, we've already seen what Stetson do against Alabama in the regular season last year. I mean, he's thrown 5 interceptions in his career against Alabama. So, I mean, can he beat Alabama? That's the question going into the game. JT, he's kind of liable because he can't move around like Stetson can. So he'll be more of a pocket guy, but he can take some deep shots and potentially open up the passing game because our secondary has been kind of lackluster so far this season. They've gotten a little bit better. But if you leave him in the pocket, if you bring JT in, you leave him in the pocket, of course, that's going to allow Will Anderson, Philadelphia Mathis, Dallas Turner, Byron Young, some of them guys to get to him potentially. But, I'm excited for the game. And either way, of course, I do want Alabama to win, and I know you want Georgia to win. But the fact that an SEC team is going to win the championship and how that makes everybody across the world mad. And we have said it before, and I'll say it again. If you don't want Alabama and Georgia in the championship game every single year, it's simple. Just beat us. That's all you got to do.
Just win.
Just win.
As Al Davis says, just win, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Georgia fans, there's a cautious optimism. I mean, obviously, we're excited about how we played against Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
And excited about kind of the defense getting their mojo back a little bit and Stetson finally looking like what Stetson looked like throughout the course of the season that got us to 12-0. And finally the coaches kind of realized, okay, this is what we need to do and this is how we need to be successful. But there's that elephant in the room. Everybody's like, well, it's still Bama. Like the fact that Kirby didn't want the Gatorade bath, like he's like, no. Like the players don't want Orange Bowl champ T-shirts and none of that stuff, and they're trying to. It's almost like they're overcompensating, in a way, which is a bit nerve wracking. But I know Georgia fans are on pins and needles of okay, what's going to happen this game? I think we came in overconfident last time around, and Bama punched us square in the mouth and humbled us and took our lunch money. Now we got to go get it back. So we're like that kid that's been working out for like several years to like beat up the bully. Well, hopefully we pay that off here in just a few short days. But you look at the matchup, Jake, Steve, Jeb. You look at the matchup, and it's got to be. We know Stetson's going to start. Let's just go out. Let's just put that out there. It ain't going to be JT Daniels. JT might be a reliever if something happens. If
reverse
he throws 3 more interceptions, reverse Tua,
right.
Or maybe he gets hurt, which is a reverse Jalen Hurts situation where Tua gets hurt and Jalen comes back in the next year. Something along those lines would be something that would put JT in the game. So knowing that, I think defensively we've got to try to neutralize Will Anderson better than we did a few weeks ago. Take advantage of his aggressiveness. Get the ball out. Make him run. I think what we did really well against Michigan to neutralize their 2 dominant pass rushers, Hutchinson and Ajabo, was we threw screens either side. Like we threw a ton of screens, a ton of RPOs, ran right at those guys. And I think that affected them because neither of them recorded a single sack.
Right.
And
Hutchinson looked lost in that game.
He did. He looked like a lost puppy dog. And there was footage, Steve, from the Army Bowl where Jamari Sawyer is absolutely dominating and whipping his ass in the Army Bowl practices. Hutchinson. So like these two have a history.
Wow.
And in Alabama's guy, like his stats like twice as good as the number 2 winner of the Heisman.
He got screwed.
I don't understand how Hutchinson even made it up on the podium. When I guess it's just because Bryce Young was going to win, so they rigged it so number 2.
It was just the fact that Bryce Young and Will Anderson play on the same team. That's the only reason. because any other year or any other scenario, Will Anderson is probably in New York. I thought Matt Corral should have been in New York, but we've already discussed that. But yeah, offensively, I think if we can get a few deep shots off and complete them, I think it could be it could be a scenario where Alabama we can overwhelm Alabama a little bit. If it's a scenario where we get the game started like we did the last time around, where we're able to run the ball, 13 personnel type situation. George Pickens is a little more healthy now, so how does he factor into it offensively? I think that's where we go. What do you see? Georgia's offense versus Alabama's defense. Where do you see the matchups? What does Alabama need to continue to do? What do you think they're going to be able to do? What do you anticipate happening based on possible adjustments being made?
Well, one thing I want to say for Georgia is there's a chance you see a guy that you haven't seen yet. He played last week, and that's Kyrie Jackson. Jalen Armour-Davis tried to come in. He got hurt again, so I don't know what his status is for the game.
Probably not.
Right. So, you already seen Kool-Aid, and you kind of attack Kool-Aid with Pickens a little bit, and Pickens has success against Kool-Aid. But now are you going to go after the guy who's pretty much a fresh face at corner? Or are you going to still go after Kool-Aid? So, I mean, you have an opportunity there, because we got two. Kool-Aid's played a lot. But Kyrie has just whatever he played a little bit in last week's game. And but defensively for Alabama, of course, we're going to have to keep Stetson in the pocket. We can't let him use his legs because, like you said, if he extends plays, he can get dangerous and he can run for a first down if need be. Will Anderson and Dallas Turner both still need to cause havoc. Philadelphia Mathis he's probably played his way into a day 2 type guy in the NFL draft. He's done really amazing this year. And he's got to get some pressure as well. Offensively, I don't know if y'all seen in the Alabama game, but we only did it one time. I wish we would have done it more. But I said before the game, I was telling some guys at work, I said we need to. You talked about screen passes. Mm-hmm. We don't use screen passes a lot in this offense, but we did one time. Jameson, we did a wide receiver screen or a wide receiver sweep. And if you get him going because he's already at a full sprint and he gets around the corner, it's going to be hard to catch him unless you got a corner right there already on him. So
Cincinnati played it really well one time.
They did.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, but if you need to utilize that a little bit more, I think, and draw plays. I mean, when it's 3rd and 15, we don't need to hunk it down if we got pretty good field position where we're going to pin you deep, on a punt. Just give it a draw, get a couple yards, then punt. But we don't do any draws either. So, I feel like O'Brien had his best game plan against Georgia the first time around. Let's see if he does it again. But I don't. It remains to be seen until the players get out there and they start executing. But
yeah, I mean, you saw Michigan try a little bit of tempo and it just failed miserably because that's not who they are.
But the downfall about Michigan, McNamara cannot throw, and he's not a passer like Bryce Young is. Mm-hmm. And honestly, Brian Robinson, right? I mean, Brian Robinson has probably pretty much made himself a guy that's going to be a second-round guy probably in the NFL draft, this year. So you have those two leading your offense. Anything can happen. Of course, you got J-Mo out there, but if you double up J-Mo, then we're going to have like a Billingsley or Ja'Cory Brooks, Trayshawn Holden, Ajahal, Billingsley, Latou, somebody, Slade Bolden even, to step up because we need that second option because we can't look at J-Mo at all times because he may be doubled up. We're going to have to find a secondary option, and it remains to be seen if that's going to happen, which it can. The guys just got to get playing time.
And Georgia's got to force that.
Right.
If we want to flip the matchup now, Georgia's got to force that to happen. Georgia's got to force Slade Bolden. And Georgia, what Alabama loves to do, what gets Alabama really going, from what I noticed, is when they have 4, 5, 6 play drives, right? Where they can strike you, and then get big chunks of yards, or catch a slant and go to the house, on like a 1-play drive. So in anything 6 or less, Alabama's got the advantage. But if you can force Alabama into a 10, 12 play drive, and you do that most of the time that they're on the field, outside of 3 and outs, obviously. But if you can get some of their longer drives, they will, I think they tend to lose focus, and that's part of the freshman. That's Bryce Young. Like, he thrives off of those quick chunk plays and stuff like that. But if you make him work, which Georgia did not do, if you look at all 40 of their points, obviously 7 of those went to the defense, or 6 of those went to the defense. But if you look at all 40 of those points, the Jameson play, which is like the first or second play out of halftime, right? The first touchdown was a 65-yard slant, I think, on the first play of the series. You look at they had one drive where it was like 6 plays, where it was like right before half, where Bryce Young did the whole flip out to Brian Robinson, things like that. They got like 8 to 12 yards per attempt on that series, and got right down there. And Bryce Young, I remember, scooped up his own fumble, which kind of saved their hide a little bit there too.
Yeah.
So I think if you can make Alabama work and try to find those guys, I think you're going to do yourself I think you're going to do yourself some favors if you're Georgia, because those defensive guys, like, you give them more opportunities to make plays. Like, Nakobe Dean's going to be out there, and he's going to make some plays, and then you're going to start to see some more 3 and outs, because I think it'll discombobulate their offense a little bit.
Yeah.
Steve?
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
I think that Georgia offensively, the key to the game is going to be James Cook. He's the matchup problem that Alabama is probably going to be most afraid of for this game. And defensively, they need to stop the run enough to rush the passer. They need to earn the right to rush the passer to get after him. If you can't stop Brian Robinson, it's going to be a long day, because they will absolutely play murder ball on you. And I've seen this firsthand. And all of a sudden, Bryce Young's thrown for 175 yards, and it just doesn't matter.
Because Brian Robinson has rushed for 200 and 3 touchdowns. So,
Yeah.
Eliminate the back-breaking, momentum-killing chunk plays. Limit the rush. Limit the running game. Hit Bryce as much as you can. Even if it's just a knockdown after a throw, hit him. Get him on the ground. Be in his face. Hands up. Bats and balls down. Make it hard on him. Make it difficult. Make life difficult for J-Mo. Get a hand in his chest. Just harass him off the line. Just anything he does, just shove him, pick at him, talk trash to him, piss him off.
Hey,
Do whatever you can to get into his head.
and John Mechie not being in this game is a huge deal. They can send Ringo over and just travel him to everything on Jamison Williams. And you can have best on best, and all of a sudden your guys are matching up better on the other side, and maybe those receivers aren't as open as they were in the SEC title game.
No, they're not.
It should be. I mean, it's going to be so much fun. I'm looking so forward to it.
I'll say this one real quick. Corey, for Georgia, when he gets to like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, somebody's got to be on Slade Bolden, because he was key in that SEC championship game, keeping some of them drives alive, because he was just hovering around
in the middle of the field. Yeah,
right. He was just hovering
You
around.
got to play cover 1. You got to have a robber. You got to play 1. You got to play 1 cover. You got to do some things like that to stop those things.
Right.
And it helps if you can push the pocket a little bit as well, and get some things where Bryce can't step into throws where he's getting hit. He's trying to make off schedule throws and weird contorted body type throws. So, hey, Stacy Blackwood, man, he's in the chat, man. I'm glad he took my advice. Got his butt in the chat. Justin Riley, what's up, man? Diggsy, what's going on, man? Ja'Cory Brooks, I think, is going to be a key factor for Alabama's offense. What can he do on the perimeter? Obviously, Slade Bolden is that. Slade Bolden and Ladd McConkey might be the same person. although McConkey I think is a little bit faster. But they play the same type of role for their respective offenses. But Ja'Cory Brooks, I think for Alabama, if you look at their receiving core, he's going to draw a lot of one-on-ones. He's probably going to draw De'Aaron Kendrick. And if he, that's a tough draw, but he's going to have to win his one-on-ones. If Alabama, I don't want to say if Alabama has a chance because I'm making it sound like Georgia's the overwhelming favorite, which they're not. But if I think that could tremendously help Alabama if he can win some one-on-one matchups for them, and if Bryce can get a clean enough pocket to find them. So we'll see kind of how that goes. I think having Christopher Smith back it helps a lot. And I think some of these young guys that had to play in his absence, not only last week, but throughout the course of the season when he was hurt, I think that helped some too. So we'll kind of see. Hopefully Georgia opens the kitchen sink. I mean, at the very least, if you're going to go down, at least just go down swinging. Obviously I want us to win. Obviously I'll be disappointed if Georgia loses. But if you're going to lose, it'll feel a lot better if you lose swinging.
Yeah. Don't take the punch like happened in the SEC Championship game. Just lay down.
Yeah.
Take that punch and then punch right back. But I have a feeling that, we all talked about before the SEC Championship game, how it could be a low-scoring game. I feel like this will be the low-scoring game of the two for some reason. It could be like a 21-17 type game potentially.
I think it's going to be the opposite. I think it's going to kind of be, I don't want to say high scoring, but it's not going to be low scoring either. I think you're going to see kind of a slow start. You're going to see a flurry of points, and then somebody's going to.
Yeah, Stacy made a good point.
I'm looking forward to seeing James Cook in the Alvin Kamara role. I think that is how Georgia is going to use him. And I expect to see him a lot in the pass game, running those jerk routes, those option routes, and things like that to take advantage of Henry To'oTo'o, who struggles in pass coverage.
Which, I mean, he's a linebacker. He should. Mm-hmm. But, Jake, I'm sorry, and Stacy, I'm sorry, but the point, the greatest point of the show has to go to Steve for his pointing earlier when he was pointing like this.
Yeah.
That was the greatest point.
I give it to him.
That's a great point. But no,
Yeah.
I just wanted to see him do the dance again.
Yeah.
More pressure to win. Smart or Saban?
Smart. No question.
Absolutely. And that could be his downfall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I'm not saying it is, but it's just something about smart when it comes to Alabama.
It's not gonna be, but it's gonna kind of tarnish it a little bit if he goes 0-5, loses both national championships to Saban, loses all of his SEC championship appearances to the same guy. I mean, it's just frustrating at this point. Do I think this is his only window? No. He's recruited. He's going to be here to stay. I don't know when that national championship will come. If it'll come Monday or sometime down the road, I don't know.
If it doesn't come Monday, it comes after Saban retires.
You just got to keep getting yourself there.
God willing, that's not long.
Yep.
Well, and here's the thing. Yeah, Georgia's going to be there for a while. I mean, Tennessee's on the up and up. Kentucky is on the up and up on the east side. Florida, they got Billy Napier. He's just got to get his guys in. They could be a handful. But honestly, there's no team on the east side right now built to beat Georgia. So they're going to be there for the next at least 2 years. They're going to be back-to-back SEC championship games, potentially. Year 3, when Harple gets his guys in and becomes, stout, they could be back out there fighting for it again.
I hope you're right, but the key is just get yourself there. Just keep getting there, and maybe we end up like the Buffalo Bills. Maybe not. I don't know, but just keep getting yourself there.
Four Falls of Buffalo, great documentary, great 30 for 30.
Very good. There you go. See, I'm an all-encompassing. This is an all-encompassing show. If UJ doesn't win this go around, I can't see them getting it next season. Bama returns a lot of key pieces. Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to happen to be next season. I think they can get through the East next season.
Yeah.
But, getting back to the playoff of the national championship picture, that's too early. That's too early to tell.
And,
Depends on the quarterback situation.
Right. And I was going, like Stacey said, honestly, this is Alabama's down year, as everybody called it. And we're playing for the national championship game. So next year after, we're going to be losing Bryce and Will Anderson next year, but we still got a lot of true freshmen that have played this year, like Dallas Turner and guys like that, who will be back for that year 3. So
there's a lot of guys on
what you
Georgia's team
don't you don't have is a backup quarterback. That, as we saw in the Sugar Bowl, you know why I'm concerned about that.
They'll get Caleb Williams, and it'll be fine.
no, we ain't gonna get Caleb. We got Ty Simpson coming in. We still got Jalen Milroe on the roster. So
Yeah, I'm talking about this year.
This year. God forbid if something happened to Bryce in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it would be absolute murder ball, and we're talking about a 14-10 type game.
Yeah.
And look I can hear Eli now. And look who's suiting up. It's Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown, Alabama. Yeah.
I mean, Stacey makes a point. We don't have a backup quarterback. I mean, Paul Tyson has played some. I'm just not.
He hadn't played, Stacey. That's how we know that you don't have him. He hadn't played yet.
I just ain't
ever.
I just ain't sold on Tyson. I'm thinking Milroe, and in a situation where we need to win, I think Milroe will be out there before Paul Tyson.
Yeah. And what happens is we're used to seeing a quarterback to play a certain way at the University of Alabama through Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa and those guys. But Paul Tyson he's going to be an A.J. McCarron type. He's going to be an old-style game manager. He's going to be Greg McElroy back at it. They won back then, but, I mean, that was going to require experience. And if he gets first action, I don't see a situation to where a Tua-type situation happens if, for some reason,
those guys aren't
Bryce
as
Young goes
dynamic
around.
as Tua is.
They're just not the same guys.
Tua was a first-rounder coming in relief, like –
and also,
Paul Tyson ain't that dude.
How weird is it? You got Brian Robinson, and then there's just no depth at running back.
Because all the injuries.
Yeah, it's just none. It's one of those things to where if Bryce Young and Brian Robinson went down early in that game, Alabama might not score.
You hush your mouth.
Don't
jinx us.
New game plan. Hurt Bryce Young.
Just because someone hasn't played doesn't mean that he can't play. I'm not saying that the backup is great, but I'm saying you can't say we don't have one. Well, to throw a backup who hasn't played many snaps at all, if any meaningful snaps, against Georgia's defense, that's not a great barometer of success. No. That's not a great first action to go in on. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But if I'm throwing Paul Tyson in, or Milroe, if I'm throwing in
I think it's real similar. If Matt Corral goes down and Luke Altmaier comes in, I think it looks real similar. I think there's plays that can be made. I think Paul Tyson throws a touchdown pass, but I think inevitably the defense kind of collapses and messes up because there's pressure being put on them. So it's just a weird situation. This Alabama team is not the normal Alabama team.
Milroe might die. N'Kobe Dean might decapitate him, but you
got to catch him first.
That's true.
He's fast.
He's a fast dude. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll start running options. Maybe they have Paul Johnson as an analyst in the Nick Saban rehab.
The wishbone. Bring the wishbone back.
There you go. Don't rule out Trey Sanders. Yeah, but Trey Sanders is not Brian Robinson. Trey Sanders is good, but he's just not. I just don't see. He's a good complementary back. I just don't really quite see him as a lead guy. I mean, he's good in his role, but he's just if he's carrying the mail.
Trey Sanders just hovered.
Yeah,
you gotta have somebody with him.
Brian Robinson is basically Derrick Henry, diet Derrick Henry. You know, they run the same exact way. He honestly needs 40 carriers to get lathered up and going, and he'd be the absolute perfect fit for Alabama playing murder ball back in the 2010s, about 2011.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. So, for Georgia, Kenny McIntosh cannot carry this offense by himself. If it came down to Kenny McIntosh being the lead guy, it's not going to work because he's not that type. He needs somebody like Zamir. He needs somebody like Kendall Milton to run with. Like he needs that guy. Brian Robinson is that guy for Alabama. Zamir White is that guy for Georgia.
Right.
That's why him and James Cook are such a great compliment. Like James Cook by himself probably doesn't do a whole lot, but you have the dynamic of Zamir and Cook, and you had the ability to put Cook and Zamir in the game at the same time and do some different things. I think that's a little bit scary. Same with McIntosh. McIntosh is a quarterback now, apparently, so you got that to worry about.
Yeah, I think Georgia they play too many running backs. I think they would, in this game, would benefit by just playing two. And give it to Zamir White and give it to James Cook and just go. Leave McIntosh and Kendall Milton.
Well, for a long time, Milton doesn't get much run. It's mostly just Zamir, Cook, and McIntosh, and Milton gets a little bit, but not much. So really, for a long time, McIntosh was out. So a lot of time, for like probably 6 games, it was Zamir and Cook, and that was it. And then in blowout situations, Milton comes in. But
I just think they need to tote the rock in this situation because those are obviously your best 2 backs as far as filling out what you need. Milton and McIntosh might be great backs, but for what you do and what you need, White and Cook, perfect complement for each other.
Well, those guys are veteran guys. I mean,
and they need to be on the field at the same time.
Yeah, I mean they're built just like. Obviously, I'm not going to say that they're going to have the same impact at the next level that these two have, like Chubb and Sony, but they kind of complement each other like Chubb and Sony did, as far as skill sets.
And what they should also do,
take advantage of that.
What's going on with run a RPO with White as the running back, flare out James Cook out there, and take the outside backer, whoever's out there doing whatever they do. They come down for the run. You throw the ball. If they sit back, you just get the ball, and I think that would provide a little bit of ground and pound.
You saw a little bit of that. They wheeled Cook out of the backfield. They diagnosed man-to-man coverage. They wheeled him out of the backfield. You saw when he came in motion, he was smiling because he saw that guy running with him. He's like, "Yep, it's a touchdown." He knew it as soon as he went in motion. You could see him smile.
I think he's a better receiver of the football than his brother.
Oh yeah, totally. He's more dynamic than his brother.
Yeah, he actually looks like a receiver out there when you split him out. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he fits in really, really well out there.
In case you can't tell, I really like James Cook.
I can't really tell, Steven.
Yeah.
Can't really tell. So, obviously, you know where Jake and I stand on the prediction. I've got Georgia. He's got Bama, and we probably got similar scores, but flipped. Steve, where do you see this one?
Right now, I keep going, and I've been on this score for the whole week for whatever reason, but I'm thinking 31-17 Georgia. I think it's going to be a defensive score at the end that puts it away whenever they're fighting to get back in the game. It's going to be 24-17. But I think I think it's going to be a Georgia win. I think they're finally going to break through.
If it wasn't such a Georgia-Bama heavy show, I think Jeb would probably be away more. But
yummy rat poison, Steven. Yummy rat poison.
Yummy rat poison still kills you.
But still, yummy rat poison.
Jeb, your beard's looking good, man. You got a fresh cut. What do you think about this game?
I think I'm gonna go with the same prediction I had in the national championship, and I was wrong. But I still think Georgia has the team to win this year, and they did not execute in the SEC championship. Sorry, they did not execute at all the way I thought they would. But against Michigan, exactly what you expected. They just destroyed them. So I don't know. Alabama is unfortunately with Nick Saban. It's hard to ever bet against them. They just find ways to win no matter what they're doing. But I think this year Georgia has the team, and I'm expecting Georgia to actually win this game.
There you go.
Yep. Yummy rat.
And
you
now-
got
I'm
a half,
still-
you got a half gallon of rat poison there.
Yeah, and I still think Stetson is a trap. Everything's done. They're gonna win or lose based on this quarterback, and I think that they allowed him to get so much fan capital. JT is the guy that was brought in to perform in the playoffs, not Stetson. They'd have won those games regardless. We'll see if he is good enough to finally beat Bama.
We'll see. Got to have the game plan, right? So got to have the game plan. So Monday night, programming note: Beast of the East will not be happening.
I'm
We
just
just
gonna say,
continue.
if it makes you feel any better about us continuing to bet against Saban, we're generally wrong. So
Yeah, we're always wrong, and I am not going to put a cent on this game.
Well,
No.
if you pay attention to my background, you know obviously why I'm going against Saban.
Right.
In any other scenario, it's Bama, 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 and I'm picking Bama, but not in this scenario. Just
And I
because
just
it's
really
due, man.
like-
We're due.
I really like James Cook. I'm just stuck on that.
0-4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good thing to be stuck on.
And Corey, you talked about programming note. I want to make a programming note. Best of the West will return next Tuesday night. We're back, baby. We're back.
With our new associate producer in the chat, Stacy Blackwood,
Yeah.
joining us too.
Is he gonna be out of the chat and in one of these boxes?
Yeah, I think
He
so.
will. Yeah, he will.
How
be.
many
So it's-
boxing are you gonna have?
It would just be
I-
me and him on best, and so.
What are you doing next
boxing of
Tuesday?
donuts.
What are you doing next Tuesday?
Hey,
Me?
there we go.
Yeah.
I guess doing my illegal motion, but if you want me on Best of the West for a reaction, maybe
Yeah, it would be a
maybe
nice
we can work that out.
reaction. I mean, it would
Maybe we
be
can
something
work
we need to
that
do.
out.
We probably should not have done this on air, but it is what it is.
Great radio. All right. Well,
Yeah.
on that note,
LFG, let's go.
yeah, LFG. Let's effing go. So Monday night national championship. Obviously, if you're tuning in to try to see Beast of the East, that will not happen. Don't tune in because we won't be there. You'll be kind of sitting there going, "Oh, where's Beast of the East?" And the national championship will be going on without you. So, Best of the West.
Jay Williams will
return.
be going down the sideline. I mean, it's going to be a
Yeah.
whole thing.
I mean, QB Ringo will be right in his back pocket. Hopefully,
And one more thing, I don't know how y'all guys feel about it, but a championship on a Monday night kind of sucks because 5 o'clock comes early for me, and when the game is still like in the fourth quarter at 11:30, it don't end till like midnight. It's absolutely sucks trying to get up the next morning.
Yeah.
That ain't do that.
I'm just reserved the fact that I'm going to be a zombie.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. So whatever. But we are the SEC After Dark podcast. We are on the Y'all's Conference Network. If you want to join the show, if you want to be a partner, let us know. DM us, probably Steve. Be the guy you want to talk to. You can always join in on the chat.
Other way.
Yeah. Other way. Yeah.
Point the other way, what you expected.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
you want to talk to Steve about all that, and join in on the chat, subscribe, listen to us. We're growing, man. We're growing, and that's what we like to see. So if you want your logo here, if you want us to talk about you, if you want just for men beard care. Talk to Jeb, man. Talk to Jake. We got a couple of beards on the show, so any sort of crimo beard cream or whatever, come talk to us, man. We got a couple bearded fellas that could use your help.
This
So,
is like a million ways to die in the West. It's like, what is going on here? Talking about if you only had a mustache.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what we do. Steve, if we only had a mustache, you and me.
Dollar Shave Club for you guys, since y'all don't have beards. Y'all shave it off, so there you go.
I shave it every day, man.
There you go.
I mean, when I was 12 years old, I could have looked like you too. So I've lived my beard life.
When I was in the
left it in the rear
Navy,
view.
I had to shave 3 times a day.
Oh yeah.
After I got out of the Navy, I swore I would never shave that much again. If I could grow a beard, I would. If not, I just do scruff. Becky likes scruff, so
Yeah, I
That's
probably
weird.
shave every other day. I go with the shadow look. That's more my speed. I don't know. I think I would just look weird with a beard. You two probably look weird without it. So,
I
Yes.
definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah.
so that being said, presented by betonline.ag. Subscribe, find us on social media. Thanks for listening. We are the SEC After Dark podcast. We'll see you back here next week with a national championship crowned. And as always, go Dogs. We out.
Roll
Toddy.
Tide.
Toddy. Luke Altmaier.
I hope the groan made it to the